Hello and welcome to episode 267 of the official EstablishTheRun.com podcast. My name is Adam Levitan, as always joined by the Stone Boomer himself. Evan Silva, the Geek Squad, is coming to rescue Evan's tech setup. In the meantime, we press on. Evan, how's it going?
Good. I started to grow out my beard just to kind of reflect the boomerism. People have been questioning the boomerism, and I got to let them know it's real.
A beard is boomerism now?
I got to lean into it, you know? Well, yeah, because, I mean, look, there's like some gray in there, and you got to lean into it.
There is gray. My God, if your screen wasn't pixelating so bad from all the viruses on your computer, then maybe I'd be able to see the gray in the beard.
There's no viruses on the computer. It's just so many words from the matchups column from the last 2 years, taking up all the memory, soaking up all the memory.
All right. On today's show, and each Tuesday this season, Evan and I go team by team, highlighting the most important things we saw from a fantasy perspective and key takeaways. Before we get into it today with the NFC, two things. NBA starts Tuesday, tonight. Our NBA team, led by Drew Dinkmeyer, led by Mike Gallagher, have been grinding their faces off getting ready for this season. We have full projections and ownership for each slate, top plays, shows, and much more in the DFS product. We also have a separate props product, trying something new there. Will be similar to the way we're doing the NFL props through Discord. Head to the subscribe page on EstablishTheRun.com to check it out if you're interested. Second, this show is brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks.com. We are hot in the player prop market. I know a lot of people don't have access to legal player props because they're in New York or California or Texas or a bunch of other states that don't have regulated sports betting. PrizePicks is legal and regulated in those states. You can bet their props in parlay form. We have a table up each week to compare our projections to PrizePicks. We're also in the Discord firing off some stuff. If you guys want to give PrizePicks a try this week, they have a 100% instant deposit bonus up to $100 if you use promo code ETR. Or use the link in the show notes. Again, promo code ETR at prizepicks.com for the best deal. All right, Evan, let's get into it with the NFC. And we've been talking about this DeAndre Hopkins thing going back to the preseason because we had a bet on DeAndre Hopkins under 1,350 receiving yards on the season. One of the arguments that I made for that was, look, target competition is getting stiffer. You know, you think what you want about AJ Green, he's still going to earn targets. You know, Rondale Moore is going to earn targets. They're spreading it around more, even when they lose Max Williams. I mean, you know, DeAndre Hopkins is down to a 19% target share on the season. That is really low for an alpha wide receiver. Last year was at 29%. So, like, I don't want to say that I'm giving up on DeAndre Hopkins, but I think, like, his name value is probably a little bit better than his role right now. What do you think about him in season long and anything else on the Cardinals?
Yeah, I've been thinking about him as a potential sell high, but, you know, the efficiency at which this offense is running, I think that he's a guy that you probably still want to keep. I mean, unless you can get, you know, a real bargain for him, but he's still playing at a high level. I mean, he looks good out there when he does get the ball. It's just, you know, last year with no practice time, the teams just kind of jumped in. It's like, we're going to feed you the rock, you know, over and over and over again. That was the case with DeAndre Hopkins. That was the case with Stephon Diggs. This year, they had a full offseason. Hey, we're going to get touches to AJ Green. We're going to get touches to Chase Edmonds. We're going to get James Conner as touches. We're going to get, you know, Christian Kirk more involved. Rondale Moore has been effective when he's touched the football. And so I think and this has been working for them. That's the thing. This is working for them. They're freaking 6-0. They're number one in every power ranking. They've beaten good teams now. You know, I mean, I've had a level of skepticism about the Cardinals. I know a lot of other people have too. They took care of business against Cleveland. They took care of business against the Rams. They're going to keep doing this.
Yeah. Very good team, the Arizona Cardinals. I still don't view them as a Super Bowl contender, but maybe I should. It
was just the complete victory, the complete domination of Cleveland. I know that Cleveland was extremely banged up, and we'll talk about that when we get to the Rams. But to be able to do that without Chandler Jones and Rodney Hudson, you know, and then you know, going back to the Hopkins thing, like they just traded for Zach Ertz, you know, who's a guy that over the course of a career obviously has commanded targets to a much greater extent than his predecessor, Max Williams. The ball is going to get spread around.
Yeah. Cardinals get the Texans home against the Texans this weekend. Looks like they are likely to move to 7-0. Atlanta Falcons had their bye coming off the London game. Now they play at Miami. I don't really have a lot to say on the Falcons as they come out of their bye. I mean, if they did any self-reflection during the bye, it's we need to get Cordell Patterson the ball more. The other self-reflection I would say is we need Calvin Ridley down the field more and playing at a higher level. But other than that, I don't know exactly what Atlanta can change. They're just not a very good team. But any expectation for the Falcons as they come out of their bye against Miami?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Calvin Ridley is still in buy low position. Now you have his buy out of the way if you're trying to buy him. He was averaging 10.5 targets per game over the first 4 contests. And Matt Ryan's YPA has gone, or his ADOT has gone up since the first few games of the season. He's got a 10-3 touchdown interception ratio, 10-3 touchdown to interception ratio over his last 3 games, completing 71% of his passes. So he's still got enough left in the tank to get the ball to the playmakers. This is a really thin week for skill position, fantasy starts at all, because we got 6 teams on bye and we have an ungodly amount of injuries. Mike Davis is going to be like a borderline RB1 this week.
Oh God, don't say that.
If you're looking at rankings, he's going to be like a top 15 running back in like Fantasy Pros rankings, because he's averaging like 15 touches per game. And I mean, there's just an extreme shortage of utility at the running back position due to all the injuries and having 6 teams on bye and a lot of good teams on bye too.
Yeah. I mean, a bit of a run funnel for Miami. They're the Falcons opponent coming up next. And by the way, when you mentioned, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say that the Falcons are coming off their bye following the London game. The Dolphins don't have a bye coming off their London game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a great situation for the Dolphins.
Yeah. Last thing I'd say is on the Calvin Ridley thing, you mentioned that he's already had his bye when talking about season-long trades. Of course, in our rest of season 150, which comes out every Wednesday, all that stuff is factored in, who's had a bye, who hasn't, et cetera, et cetera. And so Calvin Ridley is going to move up now that he's already had his bye. Carolina Panthers, this Robbie Anderson thing, man, it's really hard to get 11 targets and finish with 11 yards. Like, I can't even think how that's possible. 11 targets, 11 yards. He had some egregious drops, and I get that Sam Darnold didn't play well. There were some really, really bad drops for the Panthers. Now Terrace Marshall is in the concussion protocol. Christian McCaffrey landed on IR. The weaponry that was surrounding Sam Darnold suddenly doesn't look that great. Robbie's playing terribly. Terrace Marshall is out. Christian McCaffrey is out. It's just not as good as it was. And so predictably, Sam Darnold's not going to elevate talent. I thought he would play well with the talent around him, but it looks like a mess right now for the Panthers. Still, another back-to-back weeks, they had chances to win the game, ends up going to overtime, and they lose. What do you see out of the Panthers game against the Vikings?
Yeah, and the Panthers are struggling to protect Sam Darnold, and that much is clear. He struggled the last 2 weeks. We shouldn't have expected him to play well the last 2 weeks either, because he was – whenever the Panthers go up against teams that can rush the passer, and the Vikings can, and the Eagles can absolutely create havoc up front with Javon Hargrave in particular. That's going to make Sam Darnold uncomfortable, and that's going to put him in spots where he's panicking after when his first read is not there. So that's what we've seen from him the last 2 weeks. But you're right, he hasn't gotten much help either from his receivers. They had 8 drops last week. The Panthers did, and 3 of them were egregious by Robbie Anderson. 2 were pretty bad by Chuba Hubbard. Tommy Tremble had 1. It's just their offense is struggling right now. And you heard Matt Rule in the post-game press conference talking about, or in the Monday press conference talking about how they want to run the ball and they want to protect the passer. And, it sounds like they're going to try to change their offensive philosophy. They were pretty aggressive in the first 4 weeks under Joe Brady, and now they're going to go back to trying to play like old school football, win with their defense, protect the ball on offense, and that's not very conducive to scoring a lot of fantasy points.
Yeah, I mentioned that Christian McCaffrey is going to be out for a while. I mean, I don't want people to overlook this Chuba Hubbard role. I mean, it is absolutely spectacular, and in games where they can play better, the Panthers can. They play the Giants, the Falcons. They have games against the Cardinals, Washington coming up. I think Chuba can have some very, very good games. He obviously has already. Let's go to the Bears. One thing I want to say about the Bears is it's been bad, obviously, for Justin Fields. This is like, don't give up now. I mean, they have the Bucs up next. Obviously, the Bucs generate so much passing volume from their opponents, generate so much passing success from their opponents. So, like, I understand you want to give up on Allen Robinson. I understand you want to give up on Darnell Mooney and Fields. But, man, this is not the spot to do it. Like, if you held them the whole way, this is the spot for it. Are we leaving the light on for the Bears, though, Evan? I mean, it certainly looks really bad from fantasy. They're just doing their best to hide Fields as much as possible.
No, I mean, they opened it up a little bit. I mean, he had season highs in pass attempts, 27, and rushing, 6 for 43.
Yeah.
It's just, we talked about they needed like a full game negative script, and they didn't get that. I mean, they jumped out to a 7-0 lead in this game. Justin Fields led him on a great drive later in the game to get their second touchdown, but their defense. I mean, they're just not as good as the Packers. They have a talent issue on the team. That's really been the story of the Bears for the last a very long time. It's a talent issue, period. And I think it's interesting. It'll be very interesting to see how they approach this game against Tampa Bay. Do they just try to run their offense, continue to use Justin Fields very conservatively, or do they attack the weaknesses of the Buccaneers, which is clearly in the secondary? I mean, Antoine Winfield can't get out of the concussion protocol. We'll talk about that in the matchups column. We'll talk about that on Friday, et cetera. But I mean, this is a very interesting game.
Yeah. After the Bucs game, the Bears play the Niners, the Steelers, the Ravens, not impossible matchups, but not the best matchups either. Right. So, if they can't do it against the Bucs, it's going to be big trouble.
I'm still real worried about Allen Robinson. And this would be the game for him to kind of pop up and have a good game. Absolutely, from a matchup standpoint. But I don't think that he's a buy low still. We were off him to begin the season, and there's no reason to jump on him at this point either. Khalil Herbert was the story of this game, I thought, because he played almost 90% of the snaps. He got the early TD. He looked good as a rusher, 21 touches, and Damian Williams still doesn't have a timetable to return. And I don't know, there have been some positive vibes about Tariq Cohen recently, but I'll believe it when I see it with him at this point.
Yeah. I kind of expected Damian Williams back this week with the COVID stuff, but we'll see. I mean, he opted out last year for the whole year due to COVID stuff, so we'll see. Dallas. Dak Prescott did hurt his calf on that last play of the game, but he has the bye week to rest up and says he'll be fine. Michael Gallup is close. It sounds like Michael Gallup has a chance to return in week 8. Obviously, this team's been playing very, very well, and part of the issue with fantasy in this is it's not concentrated. I mean, everybody is in the mix. I mean, even Cedric Wilson is in the mix. Big fourth down play, they go to Cedric Wilson. Obviously, Lamb and Cooper in there, Schultz and Jarwin gets a touchdown, and Pollard and Zeke. And now you're going to add Gallup in also. It's going to be very hard to project which guy is going to do it. Obviously, CD looks like the best talent, but there's a lot of mouths to feed here. But they're on a bye, so I don't want to spend too much time. But anything from Dallas's overtime win over the Patriots?
Yeah, there's a lot of mouths to feed, but they're a really efficient, high-scoring offense. So, yeah, there are going to be some bumps in the road. You deal with them because you're starting really talented players in an efficient, high-scoring offense. There was some panic in the Discord last week, I noticed, about CD Lamb. Should I trade him away? Michael Gallup's coming back, et cetera. You have a young stud receiver in a great offense. You ride him, man, and you deal with the lows. I mean, he's got 4 good to great games out of 6 right now. And there were 2 bumps in the road. But I mean, you deal with that. First of all, the wide receiver position in general is not very consistent. I mean, these guys aren't consistent week to week, with the exception of Devontae Adams, who even last week he had 4 for 89 and no touchdowns. I mean, that's a bump in the road for him. Just you have to get used to the fact that wide receivers are not consistent in general, and that's why you draft a bunch of them, and you have some dudes pop up, and then when the other guys go through bumps in the road, those dudes carry you. I mean, that's just kind of how it works at that position. Don't go trading away CD Lamb. He's a stud. This is a great process. You have a young stud wide receiver in a high scoring, efficient offense. You ride those guys.
Yeah, and in these games where Dak has to throw it 40, 45 times, obviously everyone is going to erupt. The best thing for Dallas's offense is going to be defense regressing. I mean, that's the best thing that could happen for Dallas Dolphins because obviously they're insanely good and insanely efficient. Detroit Lions. DeAndre Swift is getting more. I mean, they were getting killed in this game, so, he plays in all the trailing game scripts, but still encouraging to see DeAndre Swift 78% of the snaps. Now has 8 carries inside the 10-yard line, and that was the big thing. Like, how many touchdowns can DeAndre Swift score as kind of not the power back on a really bad team? But he's getting a lot of carries inside the 10-yard line. I mean, that's top 15 in the league. Also, was good to see TJ Hawkinson back in the box score, 8-catch game. It's so hard with these guys who are playing through injury, and we'll talk about Antonio Gibson in a second here. But, I mean, it's hard to know how healthy TJ Hawkinson is on a week-to-week basis. If you look at the box score, he looked fine this past week, but you never know what you see out of the Lions as they got wrecked by the Bengals.
Yeah, all that plus Dan Campbell came out and harshly criticized Jared Goff. I mean, he's not playing at the level that we need. And then, and he said that in the post-game press conference. And then on Monday, the next day press conference, he was like, we're looking at making some changes. So, I mean, what are they going to do? Go to David Blau? I mean, I don't think that that's going to save them. But I just think that the rhetoric coming out of Dan Campbell, he is frustrated with Jared Goff.
Let's go to the Green Bay Packers. I didn't see a lot out of the Packers. A.J. Dillon's starting to earn a little bit more. But I think the story coming up for the Packers is the schedule. Washington, one of the biggest pass funnels. Arizona, potential shootout. Kansas City, atrocious defense. Seattle, atrocious defense. I mean, there is a lot to like about Packers offense going forward, not just because they can be efficient, but because they can be pushed by opposing offenses like Arizona and Kansas City. And so, yeah, I think the arrow is pointing up on a lot of the Green Bay guys. I think Big Bob Tonyan is going to be in play in these matchups where they're going to project to score 3, 4, 5 touchdowns in a game.
Please,
what you see?
Just give us something, Big Bob.
Yeah, I know. The Big Bob thing has been really bad. But yeah, anything on the Packers as they kind of coasted to a win over the Bears?
Yeah, I would add to that the Packers offensive line has a chance really soon to be the healthiest that it's been all year, because they had their stud left guard, Elton Jenkins, who had been filling in at left tackle. He missed a couple games there. He's back. Josh Myers, their rookie center, who missed time early in the season, he's back. And then David Bakhtiari is eligible to come off the PUP list this week. I don't know if he will. He tore his ACL last year. But he's going to resume practicing this week. So, in correspondence with this, or corresponding to this really light or really fantasy favorable schedule, they're getting their offensive line back. A.J. Dillon does have double-digit touches now in 3 straight weeks. I mean, he's a fantasy starter with these bye weeks setting in. He is at very least a flex, probably an RB2 on a lot of teams. And also MVS is due back soon.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, I think their offense is looking up for sure, just from a schedule perspective. Let's go to the Rams. I'm running out of things to say on Cooper Kupp, man. I mean, he's on pace for 130 catches, 1,850 yards, and 20 touchdowns. He's maintaining a 34% target share through 6 weeks. I mean, he's broken, I think, 4 DFS slates already. I mean, it's totally insane. I'd also note that Johnny Munn got hurt in this game, and as if Tyler Higbee needed a bigger role. I think Tyler Higbee got tackled inside the 5-yard line a couple times in that game. Definitely still in on Tyler Higbee, especially with Johnny Munn down. And yeah, I mean, the D Hendo stuff, they're using him like they used prime Todd Gurley. Just like this D Hendo role is absurd. And I guess they don't really have too many concerns about preserving his body, because they keep running him out there for an overwhelming amount of the running back touches, despite having Sony Michel. What do you see out of the Rams blowout of the Giants?
Yeah, and I would continue to stash Sony Michel, because Darrell Henderson, I mean, as much as we like him, as well as he's been playing, he does have a long history of missing time. I mean, he already missed the Tampa game this year. He's gotten banged up a couple times. You keep riding him, but keep Sony Michel stashed. I think Sony Michel, when he's gotten opportunities, he's looked fine, and I think he would absolutely excel in any role somewhat similar to that in this high octane offense that, still, I don't know how they keep their offensive line healthy and intact, but, they return 5 starters every year. They don't get hurt every year. knock on wood, but I mean, they've got some awfully good fortune there in the water with the offensive linemen in LA.
Minnesota, was good to see Dalvin Cook back healthy. 29 out of 33 running back carries for Dalvin Cook, plus 2 of 2 running back targets. Now he gets a bye in which he should be able to get the ankle, if it's not already 100%, all the way to 100%. So good vibes on Dalvin. Also, Adam Thielen broke the age model and shows up for a big game here. What did you see out of Minnesota's win down in Carolina?
Yeah, right when we were starting to get down on him, Adam Thielen just goes off, and he's a technician. He doesn't necessarily need to play at maximum explosiveness and dynamism, because he is a technician, especially at this stage of his career. He's still a good football player, and he showed that in this game.
New Orleans Saints come out of their bye, and they play at Seattle. So it'll be Jameis Winston against Geno Smith. Michael Thomas, I believe, is eligible to return, but I believe I saw Underhill saying that he does not think Michael Thomas will be ready this week, or really ready for, it could take a couple weeks. Still, if Michael Thomas is out there on your wire, I would undoubtedly go get him. I think we've said that each of the last couple weeks. It's just hard to find guys who can command a 25 to 30% target share, no matter how run heavy you think it's going to be. Michael Thomas is going to dominate targets once he gets in there, assuming he's healthy. What do you think about Michael Thomas' potential return, and anything on the Saints as they face the Seahawks?
I just love it. Marcus Callaway shoving it right down Leone's throat. Wide receiver 15 overall, weeks 4 through 6.
Yeah, so, getting the Hail Mary for Marquez Callaway.
Yeah, I know. 2 of his touchdowns this year have just been like total flukes, but we'll take it.
New York Giants. The Sterling Shepard thing, I ended up playing Sterling Shepard in cash on DraftKings. Dude just earns targets. I mean, 24% target share in week 1, 31% target share in week 2. He got hurt in week 3, comes back in week 6, 27% target share. Now, I get it. Slayton was hurt. Galladay was hurt. Tony left, on the first drive and looked like he was on his way to another big game, and he gets hurt. But still, Sterling Shepard is just so consistently earning targets for this team. What you see out of the Giants as they got absolutely wrecked by the Rams.
God. I mean, big step back for them. We had kind of like warmed to their offense a little bit. You were right about Kadarius Toney on the Sunday morning show, assessing his injury. He went out like on the first drive, and it sounds like it could be a severe injury this time. They didn't have Galladay, but we don't know. I know it's supposed to be a 1-week thing, but you never know. I mean, you remember Galladay last year, like he just never came back, like
he only appeared on Instagram.
Yeah. Right. Devontae Booker, though, every down back, you see in the box score, Elijah Penny got some stuff, but that was pretty much all garbage time. Mm-hmm. Devontae Booker was the Giants' every down back in this game.
Yeah. And they get a home game against the Panthers this week. We'll see how their injuries all shake out, because it's going to be really, really interesting there for them. Eagles. Let's talk about this Zach Ertz trade for a second. I didn't think Zach Ertz was going to start the year on the Eagles, but credit to Howie. I mean, Howie is so good at this stuff. Like, he's like, I'm not going to sell Zach Ertz low. He can play. He can still play for us. Like, he's just like a good negotiator, and he ends up getting the deal for Zach Ertz. How do you think that affects Dallas Goedert? I mean, Dallas Goedert has run a route on almost 90% of quarterback dropbacks when Ertz has not been out there. It's not a great passing offense, but Jalen Hurts can at times do it. I mean, obviously it's an upgrade for Dallas Goedert. Where would you rank him now among tight ends and anything else on the Eagles?
I don't know exactly where I'd have to sit down and do an actual ranking, but my feeling is that he would be top 8 going forward. I know that people are going to try to talk up maybe Richard Rodgers, your basketball buddy, or
he's not even on the team anymore. I think he's on Arizona, and it's Tyree Jackson, I believe.
Tyree Jackson, the converted quarterback from Buffalo. Yeah. People are going to try to talk up these guys, I think, but in anticipation of the Eagles wanting to use continue to use multiple tight ends, but they've got a pretty good 3 receiver set that they should want to trot out there in Quez Watkins, Jalen Reagor, and Devontae Smith. So I think that they just become a 3 receiver team and play and be more of a spread team, as opposed to like trying to jam in Tyree Jackson, into playing a big role in the offense. I think it's going to be a lot of Dallas Goedert, and we know he's good, and it's just going to be a matter of, can Jalen Hurts get him the ball? Jalen Hurts is his fantasy production and his real life play are not, symbiotic. They are not on the same page. And so I do wonder, is there a point at which the Eagles look to play Gardner Minshew or something if he continues to struggle and they continue to lose games? I don't think they should. I think that they should give Jalen Hurts the whole year. But, I mean, they did trade for Gardner Minshew, and, if Jalen Hurts continues to struggle on the field, we love him in the box score. Could they make a move like that?
Yeah, that would not be good for our main event team that we drafted with that live stream on. We have Jalen Hurts, and we are winning. Shout out to us. Most points in the league. Couple other things on Philly I'd note. Miles Sanders, even in a trailing game script against the Bucs there, Miles Sanders outsnapped Kenny Gainwell 43-12. I think there's some room for Miles Sanders to have some good games going forward if he can keep separating from Kenny Gainwell. And then I also note that, Quez Watkins, we talked about him creeping on Jalen Reagor. I mean, they're going to play more 3-wide sets now that Ertz is gone. And I think Quez Watkins dude makes big plays, and he's been doing it since the preseason.
Yeah, this has been 2 games now in a row where Gainwell has not really been involved. And it kind of came out of nowhere. But, Miles Sanders has been their every down back the last 2 weeks.
And Miles Sanders is going to get Raiders, Lions, Chargers up next for Miles Sanders. Let's go to San Francisco. They'll come out of their bye for a home game against the Colts. I saw some chatter that looks like Jimmy G could be back. I mean, I think if they're both healthy, that Kyle Shanahan probably goes back to Jimmy G over Trey Lance. I'm not sure what you think there, but anything on San Francisco as they come out of their bye?
No, just that Jimmy Garoppolo has been practicing and Trey Lance has not been practicing. So I do think they're going to go back to Jimmy G. Yeah.
Sad.
Boring.
Sad for the best ball teams.
So boring.
Seattle, Alex Collins looked awesome. We had a bet on Alex Collins under rushing yards against the Steelers, and he just shoved it right down our throat. I mean, he played awesome. He did hurt his hip/glute at the end there. I'm not sure what Chris Carson's status is. Pete Carroll, who's always optimistic, did say he expects Rashad Penny back next week. For what that's worth, we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, former first-round pick Rashad Penny. But what'd you see out of Seattle's game against the Steelers in the Island game?
Yeah, and, Travis Homer kind of opened the game as the passing down back, and then DJ Dallas finished the game as the passing down back and the 2-minute back. So, and Rashad Penny's, Pete Carroll saying that Rashad Penny is like 100%. Alex Collins is now banged up. Chris Carson on the IR. Like, it's an absolute mess in this backfield right now. Pete Carroll also was on the phone, I guess, with Cam Newton. Mm-hmm. Not showing a whole lot of faith there in Geno Smith. Geno Smith has talent. Like, he's a pretty good athlete. He's got a good arm, but man, he is not good under pressure. And he just seems to make an egregious error or two, every time that he goes out there. And it's very frustrating to coaches. That's why he's never been able to hang on to a starting job, I think.
Yep. Bucks. I mean, I don't know what to say the Bucks this one. They have a home game against the Bears. Their offense is so dominant, from the offensive line to their skill players to their quarterback play, obviously. And now they're getting playoff Lenny, a.k.a. Lombardi Lenny, a.k.a. Thursday night Lenny, just erupting. It is what it is on the Bucks. They're going to throw at a massive rate, and they're going to be successful doing it. Anything on the Bucks heading into their game against the Bears?
Yeah, O.J. Howard popped up for a pretty good game this past week. He's coming off a torn Achilles. It was probably going to be a slow ramp up for him. I don't know what Gronk's status is, but I think that if Gronk is out again, then I think that O.J. Howard, solid streamer against the Bears.
Yeah, O.J. did show up for a good game. Washington, this Ricky Seals-Jones usage, man, 141 out of 142 snaps the last 2 weeks, slot or wide 88 times, 19% target share. It's absolutely elite. More importantly, though, I think, is this Antonio Gibson situation. Couldn't make it through the game. I actually played J.D. McKissick on one of my Mahomes stacks teams, and that worked out well. I think even in season long now, you can make a case, especially in PPR, to roster and start J.D. McKissick. I also wouldn't hate stashing Jared Patterson, because Gibson, I don't know, man. It seems like he might have to get shut down. These stress fracture things, the only way to heal it typically is with rest. And so I could see them shutting Antonio Gibson down, especially because they've played so freaking poorly. It's humiliating. I think I have a bet on them over 8 wins. And that's almost dead already. They're 2-4 with losses to the Saints and the Chargers, Bills, Chiefs. They've had a tough schedule, but still. What do you think about the running back situation? Anything else on the football team?
Yeah, Gibson or McKissick is like getting in from both ends because there's all this depletion in the wide receiver core, and now Gibson might have to miss time. So everything is just kind of adding up. JD McKissick was like a top 15 or top 12 PPR overall running back last year. Like, he's going to freaking do it again. I mean, it's incredible. But I also think that Jared Patterson worth a stash to see what happens in that backfield, because they're going to want to run the ball, and you don't really run the ball with JD McKissick.
Yeah, man. But like, JD McKissick is the kind of player that like is underrated by like the common, like most fantasy people. And like, I think he's super valuable. For sure.
I mean, he's an every week starter at this point.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. That is going to do it for this NFC Team by Team pod. If you've not subscribed to this podcast yet, or have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. You will not miss a show going forward. It allows us to keep giving you guys free content. Don't forget about the NBA. Back tonight, baby. We were blasting off props as this show was going on. So fun. For producer Luke, for Evan, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.